Welcome to our podcast. I'm Stacey Donadio.
And I'm Shannon Fasone from Turnkey Women,
where we're opening doors for women in business.
Cheers.
Welcome back to the Turnkey Women's Podcast. We are your hosts, Stacey Donadio and Shannon Fasone. And today in the studio, we have with us Amanda Massey from Pashman
Stein.
There you go.
Yes, she is a world-renowned attorney, helping you with all of your divorce and family needs.
I don't think I've ever been introduced that way. I want every introduction into court.
You
like
could
that
be a
now.
hype woman.
Right?
I do like that.
Yeah,
All right, good.
That's a good hype.
Good.
Good hype. Thanks for coming.
Yes, thank you.
Of course. Thank you both. I met Stacey and Shannon at the Monmouth Mom Summit, which we obviously clicked
So
right
great.
away.
I think I said I really want to be
Yeah.
friends.
Yes, you did. And
Yeah.
it was fantastic. And since then, we've started running in the same circles, and I'm so excited to be a part of this.
Yes,
Wait.
we're so happy to have you.
Wait, this is like breaking news. You are the first person to sit in that seat that we did not slide in their DMs.
It's true.
The first woman.
I just attacked you in real life.
I'm not sure which is better.
I do like the real life. I really do like that approach much better
Good, yeah.
because I can tell you right now,
Kate
my
would
messages.
Kate would
way
be
too
too.
long.
Kate,
Yes.
Monmouth Moms would be too. That
Yes.
would be too because you actually
You know what?
you knew.
I will take a second chair to Kate.
Yeah, I don't mean to take away your crown. Everyone has a crown, but I thought first because every time we sit here, we're like, "Oh, Shannon slid in the DMs, you creep." But you're just a straight stalker.
I just am.
Yeah.
I will find you.
Which, listen, I am all
Yeah.
about that connection, which
love that.
thankfully has gotten me where I've been for the last 11 years. So I can't
Yeah.
exactly say I don't appreciate it.
No, it's
Yeah.
I love it.
amazing. So let's get
Let's
started.
go there.
Sure. So I have been practicing family law for 11 years, which is
Wow.
kind of a terrifying thing to say out loud.
Now, for those of us who are not familiar with family law,
Sure.
what does it encompass?
Everything that relates to your family. So we're talking about divorces, dissolution of non-married couples. So if you just have a baby between the two of you, if you have property between the two of you, you are in a girlfriend-boyfriend or girlfriend-girlfriend or boyfriend-boyfriend type relationship, adoptions, we have child custody issues, we have child abuse and neglect issues, we have domestic violence issues. You know, all the really things that nobody ever likes to deal with is encompassed within family law. I had a judge once explain to me that family law is the grate in the parking garage.
Wow.
It's where all of the muck and the garbage and the debris collects.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, it's
And
really
you were like,
exciting.
sign me
Yeah.
up for that.
No,
Give me that. I bet
absolutely
it
not.
found you. I feel like it found you.
It kind of did. I actually told one of my first bosses that I'd rather scrub her toilets than do family law, and I did. What happened was while I was clerking for a judge after law school, they happened to get switched into family law halfway through. So my connection with local attorneys was just by being in that division. And
Wow.
not only do I practice it, I also teach it at Brookdale. So
Well, yeah.
I am everything family law.
All right.
So what do you think from your perspective shows you a different side of that? Like there has to be like the resolution of things that are so chaotic and to bring like a close to some of that. I feel like that has to give you some resolve in the
I
world.
love a challenge, number one. That is, so first of all, the fact that we talked about blondes earlier. I was probably one of 3 blondes in my law school class. So I felt like that
So
was
you're like legally blonde.
I didn't want to say it, but don't you identify with that? I love that.
I do
I
because
love that.
I really don't like, and we talked about it at the summit, I don't
Yeah.
like this idea that you have to be one thing. So I've always tried to be, I am a mom, I am an attorney, I'm a daughter, I'm a wife, I am all these different things. I don't have to just be identified by one. So for being a divorce attorney, everyone thinks we're the worst, right? We think we're the worst because we're dealing with people who are at their worst stage in
worst.
their
Yeah.
life. They are upset. They're going to point the fingers. None of my clients will really say that they want to talk to me because that means there's a problem, right? But I want to figure out how to take this really fractured situation that
Yeah.
they're in and figure out how to fix it in
Right.
a way that's not going to have unforeseen repercussions moving forward not just for them, but for the collaterals, right? We're talking about their kids.
Right.
How do
There's a
their
lot at stake.
siblings look at this? You know,
Yeah.
their friends. So that gives me, despite the tragedy that we're dealing with, it gives me some sort of confidence.
But I gotta say, like, we talk about women getting divorced because, like, now we're all at an age where you're seeing it more, or it's been talked about in
It literally has exploded.
Yeah,
I turned 43 and it was like boom, boom, boom,
Right.
boom. Like,
Well, COVID helped, right?
Yeah.
Think about COVID. If you had any sort of fissures in your relationship,
yeah, you were done.
stuck
Yeah.
in four walls for
No.
that 2 weeks that seemed to
Yeah.
go on and on and on, that makes it pretty big.
Pressure
right?
cooker.
It's a big time pressure
Totally,
cooker.
yeah.
And the world is kind of on fire right
And
now.
every upside down, totally, literally. But I feel like for somebody and in the position of getting a divorce, to have somebody come in with that lifeline,
yeah.
I mean, you literally are telling them, I got you. Like,
Yes.
I'm going to lead you and guide you. And that has to be like I would think are you primarily with women, men? It doesn't matter. Like,
It doesn't really matter. So the
Yeah.
interesting thing about family law is I can represent somebody with one position and after that phone call pick up and have the exact opposite position. So whereas if you were, say, in medical malpractice, you're primarily representing only the aggrieved, so the person injured or the doctors, right? You're staying in that one lane. For me, I can switch at all different times. And I think that keeps my job really interesting. And it's really difficult when I'm arguing before a judge one point. And if I happen to have the same judge on another case where I'm converse with that, it's always an interesting time. But
does he or she look at you like,
oh, they do. They do. And I've had judges raise hypotheticals in oral argument that pertains to the argument I made earlier. Yeah, so it keeps that whole, because I'm a litigator,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
Family law includes litigation. It also includes settlement. So I try and negotiate, mediate as well, because it's also a part of the court system. And
Right.
this whole process is just scary for people going through divorce.
sure. I
And
mean, yeah.
how many people know about it unless you're going through it?
You don't know the nitty gritty.
I only know like my girlfriend's bitching.
And
That's what I know about divorce.
and think about the
And
fact
it's ugly.
It's ugly, but
Yeah.
also imagine trying to digest and absorb this information about a very serious process while looking at the crumbling of what you thought your future was.
Yeah, your whole life.
Right.
Everything.
It's hard to figure out and move forward. So one of the prime areas that I've really prided myself on is even if my clients don't want to hear it, I have to make sure that they know what we're doing, right? They have to understand this process. And you're right, it did explode. But the other reason I think is it's a really good thing because people are not staying in bad relationships for this, for the kids. And when the kids go to college, that just sets your kids up for failure, right?
Totally.
Your kids see it.
Then they get in failed relationships themselves.
Exactly.
Right? Like the cycle of it all.
Exactly. And selfishly, I've got 2 little kids. So if I can help shape divorces now, perhaps in the future when they have a really bad breakup, it's not because somebody has a mommy or daddy issue or they went through a bad divorce. They won't think about their flaws being put onto them.
Right.
And it's going to hopefully change how people perceive this. It's not a failure. It's broken. All right. You move on.
Right. Right.
No, because we don't think about breakups like that.
No,
I do.
But like a marriage.
I love you,
like,
honey, but I do. I mean, I'm to the point now where it's like, how much longer can you hold on to something that is like, if you're getting a divorce, it's bad. Like, what are you holding? We just had this conversation, not about somebody who was married, and almost to the point where it was like, you're not even married with kids. So why are you holding on to something that is really bad and toxic?
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, it's that self-confidence and, again, that knowledge. So if you are ingrained in this thought that you have to have it this way, you have to be in a relationship, you've built yourself up, and then what will people think? Okay, great. It's the same reason as just no is a complete sentence, right? You can say no. You can say, I don't want to do this. And what's going to happen? Say that person says, they did something different. Okay.
And then it's on them to process.
Right. But that has no connection or ramification over what you are doing.
Yeah.
So unless you can sit and be happy with yourself, which is why I tell so many of my clients to go to speak to a therapist, until you can accept where you are, you're never going to be comfortable, even if you wanted this divorce.
Yeah.
So there's so many different pieces to this, and it's we wear both litigator hats, mediator hats, and also therapy hats.
All I keep
right?
hearing in this is like, how many? So I'm in title insurance, and I went to an attorney's office, and she was dealing with a couple who was getting a divorce, and he was in. They were getting what they needed to, and then she was showing up, and I was like,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
ping pong. I'm like, wow.
It's hard. And a lot of times, I will fight a lot of times with my own clients, not even for the other side, because then at the end of the day, this is my job.
Right.
Right? Most of these attorneys, even if I'm fighting them on an issue, I'm going to have to deal with them again, whether it's at a bar function or if I need to refer a case to them or I have another case with them. And this isn't my personal belief, right? A lot of people think, oh, how could you argue that? Because that's what my client needed me to argue.
Right. It's not about me.
Right. But
the
people
best
can't
interest.
remove
Yeah.
you from that. It's just really hard. But also,
But that's like a defense attorney. Like they didn't murder the family.
Right.
exactly. But because that is such a different, it stems out of a very physical tragedy. I feel like with family law, we're looked at as this, you're breaking up of a family. I'm not breaking up a family. I'll explain it. I have a 5-year-old and a soon-to-be 4-year-old. I explain it to, I'm helping a mommy and a daddy figure out how to be the best mommy and daddy
Right.
for those kids.
Separately.
Right.
Right.
And you know what? Sometimes they're even better separately.
Yeah.
I feel like most times they find that out. And if they just get past the emotions and like disconnect a bit, like
And the bitterness. There's so much
Right.
bitterness in divorce.
There's so much bitter. And why spend your time
yeah.
or energy being bitter or unhappy?
Oh, one of my mother's friends has been divorced for 20 something years, 22 years. Still.
I mean, you never want to be a part of that. We've had stories where we've had individuals who are at their children's wedding, and instead of focusing on their
Right.
child, we have had situations where they're running interference to make sure mom and dad aren't sitting anywhere near each other, or dad's girlfriend came, and how dare it's just
Wild.
so much time and energy. I have way too many things on my plate to even think about spending that much time being angry.
100%. And
how
it
do
gives you wrinkles.
Oh God,
does.
so many wrinkles.
I don't know why anybody doesn't
Hence
talk
why I have
about
bangs.
this.
I like to hide them.
Same. I couldn't do Botox. I'm afraid of needles.
Same.
But
No,
I
thank you.
can cut my bangs every week. I need
I'll
to.
see and shoot
Yep.
my face up.
No,
Do
thank
it.
Oh
you.
God, no. Mm-mm.
But
Nope.
that's what that does. Bitterness brings you,
yeah.
and crying brings you bags. Those are my lessons, ladies.
It's true. I hope no dermatologists are listening to this challenge. But it's true. It just, like, even think about a bad situation at work or a bad friendship. It drains you.
Yeah.
It does.
I mean, your physical health goes, your mental health. And if you're not enjoying at most, say 75% of your life or your day, because if everyone's got that additional 25 of nonsense,
Right.
what's the point?
What are you doing?
Right. What's the point?
Yeah.
You're living to be miserable. And I just think that's a terrible way to live.
I agree.
It just perpetuates itself too. Like now
Absolutely.
you're just riding the misery train, and then you're just attracting that. Like I'm such a huge believer in you get what you put out, right?
Absolutely.
So if you're putting all that, what if you harness that for just like
good.
this? Yeah.
But
We
also,
could change the world.
let's go. I got too lofty.
I am not kidding.
But
I
also,
don't care how corny it is, but the truth is, like, I talk to myself out loud a lot, but sometimes it's like snap out of it, like share, like come on,
You have to.
Yeah.
you have to get the
You can't live there.
over
You can't
it.
live in that misery.
and also think about, would you want to be around that?
No.
right.
No. So nobody's going to want to be around you. You know, like the best thing is people are growing and evolving. And I sound super old when I say it, but the newer crop of attorneys are being so firm with their boundaries that I'm realizing that there are now children who are standing up to their parents when probably they would just be in therapy talking about how terrible their mom was into being an almond mom for all those years and, you know, shaming them about how much they weigh. Whereas now
Yeah.
kids are like, nope, no, thank you.
Not having it.
Not
No.
having it.
Right.
So if you're going to put that energy out there, you have to be ready for the fact that people are not going to want to be around you and you're going to be a very lonely person.
Yeah.
So fix yourself.
Fix yourself.
And lean into the relief. Like I remember I wasn't married, but it was a 13-year relationship, and it, for all intents and purposes, it just should have been. It would have been. But I remember when it was over with all the horrendous parts of it, just being like, it's silent.
Yep. One of the things I always tell my clients, and I treat a little bit of it or a lot of it with humor because I am very sarcastic, but I also think it needs to be a little bit light because otherwise it's a heavy concept. So I'll always say, this is the quickest diet you'll ever have because you're going to lose at least 200 pounds immediately.
Yes.
Immediately. Gone.
Yes.
So,
immediately.
Right? And if you just shift it that way, you're like, oh, that is so silly. But also, I don't have to deal with the fact that, you know, she had an Amazon box at the house every freaking day and didn't put it in the garage. I had to cut it up.
I know.
Or the stuff was in the sink for 3 days before anybody did anything with it. It's like, just
that
set
your husband
fresh.
can't seem to figure out where the hamper is. We're not getting divorced, but I'll tell you, if he ever goes missing, it's because of the fucking hamper.
It's the dirty clothes.
It's those. It's the lampshade in the room, right? Whenever you start to think about redecorating a room, you say, oh, I think maybe this new lamp will look really good, or that lampshade. And next thing you know, oh, well, this picture might look better than that picture. And it's the snowball effect, right? It's all of these little things that chip away at a relationship. And look, I'm not saying I can look at any relationship and say, oh, that one's destined for divorce or that one's going to make it. But I was fortunate. My parents are still married. They're married over 40 years. I have been married for 7 years, I think. 6. Don't challenge me. I think it's 7. 7.
I'm the worst.
But I've been together with my husband 12 years. I got engaged while I was practicing as a divorce attorney. I've had my babies as a divorce attorney, which has taught me really the sensitivity because here I am celebrating these really happy moments while people are dealing with the death, essentially, of those exact moments to them. And it's just this constant evolution where you're like, oh, this is a very heavy topic, but it's not one thing.
Right. Everyone gets divorced for a different reason.
Exactly. And it just, like you said, you feel lighter.
I don't know
just
how
fix
people
your
don't.
problem.
Like, you don't have to worry about what they're going to say, their opinions.
I think it's a self-conscious problem, right? A lot of people think that this is what's defined them and this is the situation they're in and they don't know any different.
That's a really good point, defining them, right? Like that's their identity as
Is their marriage.
And that's what they hold on to.
And the rejection of it all. Like,
exactly.
if you weren't pushing for this and you're either A, thinking everything's fine, or B, thinking it's fixable, and the spouse is like, no, I'm so done.
Right.
Yeah.
And
the rejection can kill you.
And think about any situation. Nobody likes to be told that they're not wanted in some way, whether it's for a job or, you know, in a romantic partner. So that overall, but the whole idea also is there's just so many stigmas surrounding it, right? So you've got your identity tied up with this individual, but also you're told in different societies that you can't be independent because then you're bossy or you're not really a partner. And I think that everyone keeps putting, like I said, these labels on it. And it makes those situations where they're not going to leave because they do think that, well, I can't stand up for myself because he's not going to like that. Or if I show my true colors, then, oh boy, that's going to turn them away. So I think it's going to evolve, but we are still very far away.
Very far away. I agree.
I do, but I have to tell you, there are some like women in real estate that I've been connecting with lately, and they're younger. And I've been super impressed with their, like you said, their boundaries that they set up for whether it's a partner or an ex-husband. Like, they're like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm like, God, where was I at that age?
And they also do it in their career. Which I think is fascinating.
It's incredible to me.
Like, I'm not taking a phone call after 5. And I'm like, I'm on the phone till at least 9.
I was up till 2 a.m. doing reels last night. And I'm like, I have to do it. And they're like, no, it'll be there in the morning.
Yeah, I worked up until my water breaking with both of my children. And I very clearly remember working on a settlement agreement while I was in the hospital after my baby was born. And it wasn't because my job expected it. I was just in that mindset.
It was, same.
And my girlfriend's water broke in her office.
Yeah,
and
I was terrified
as her water
of that.
broke, she was felt like she needed to get paper towels to clean it up.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I didn't want to be the lawyer in court. So thankfully it had snowed that day. I was able to be home. But I was terrified that I would be in the courthouse and it would happen. But also, in my eyes, you just worked.
Right.
You did.
You just worked.
Yeah.
And
I love it. I'm like trying, like today, I actually didn't check my work email. One of 3
like a
work
guilty
emails.
sin.
And I was like, do you think I still have a job?
No, you know what I think the trick
Nobody even knows.
I'm trying to like set certain times of the day that I check my emails.
I'm doing that now too, and I find myself being much more productive.
Yes.
And also, look, we're all multitaskers, which
Yeah.
is great, but I really love the idea of focusing on those small little tasks because then you tackle them
Yes.
in a more
Yes.
productive way, and
Yes.
you're not second guessing
Instead
yourself
of
later.
putting out all the fires as they come in, you get your emails in the
Exactly.
morning, and then maybe you check them after lunch.
And also,
then-
it's an email. They're not
Right.
standing in front of you, right?
Correct.
You don't have to respond as soon as you read it, no matter how angry or
I
frustrated.
learned about
you
that
do
little
that.
star. You
That's
don't
really
get it.
hard for me. Like not having an immediate response is like, I panic. I'm like, there's a message. There's an email. I need to respond. I need to respond. Don't respond. Then you look too eager. But you should respond so you don't look like you don't care. And I'm like, I gotta respond.
It's constant triage.
It eats
It's
me alive.
really
I know, and then
hard.
she'll send it to me. She's like, "Don't you think you should respond?"
I didn't want to say that.
And I'm like, "I mean, I'll respond in a bit."
But
and then
here's the thing:
before I
she
get there-
responds better than I respond,
But then she'll
and
get
I
impatient, and then she's responding, and I'm like, "Okay."
Oh my god! But see, this is so much work
can't.
to me. I'm like, I've already thought of 3 other things I could be doing. To me, it's like I actually have a rule with one of the areas of my practice too, because a lot of it is, I'll call it needless trash, right? We spend a lot of my time.
I've been called worse.
We spend a lot of the time talking about just throwing everything at one another to discredit the other side in court, and it's just it gets really ugly really fast. And one of the things I will tell every single one of my clients is, if I get something that's incredibly nasty or I know it's going to upset you, 24 hours I will not talk to you. 24 hours, I want you to sit on that. I want you to read it multiple times, because first time you're going to be angry and you're going to have a whole lot of thoughts. And then you're going to read it again and you're going to miss the things that you saw the first time, and you're going to focus on other things. And then by the 4th or 5th time, you're going to have thought and reflected on what's actually being said and what's not being said. And then we can have a conversation about it.
Wow.
Because that whole reactionary is not going to get you anywhere. All it's
Yeah.
going to do is make everyone angrier.
So
and
smart.
that doesn't solve the problem, right? It doesn't mean that I'm not upset for you. It doesn't mean I don't want to attack it as seriously as you need it to be.
Right.
But it doesn't mean I need to match their energy
Right.
to get the point across.
And
Right.
that first reaction is always going to
Exactly.
be the most volatile.
Stacey's
Exactly.
really good about sitting it. Like, don't react,
I
don't
will say
respond.
sit on it.
She's
I
like
like
really
that.
good. She's like,
Yeah,
remove
it's true.
your emotions because you're not going to feel that same way in like
No.
3 days.
No, and it's all at the end of the day, all of it's a business decision, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm doing in
Yeah.
a divorce is I'm taking a company and just chopping up the pieces as if
Right.
it's just a dissolution of a business.
Yeah.
Just the difference is we're talking about people
Yeah.
and Tupperware and houses
And a dog.
and a dog. Usually it's cats.
Really?
I'm not a cat person, but
Me
a
either.
lot
I'm
of people. Oh
allergic.
boy,
Keep the cats.
Yeah, a lot of people have cats. I've had poodles.
Do they do custody?
Yes.
Like 2 weeks at your house?
So,
2
well,
weeks at mine?
yes, in New
Isn't
Jersey.
that confusing for the dog?
It is, except in New Jersey, animals are property.
Property, yeah.
So we can't really address it in the way that we think about children. But I have absolutely been on the eve of trial for custody of 2 poodles.
What is the strangest
eve of
thing
trial.
that anyone has ever fought over?
Jeez, a poodle.
Well, yes.
Top
there's-
3, because that
Top
size
3
says
is a
maybe.
poodle. Top 3 is a poodle.
Okay.
Let's see.
I'm
There-
trying to think what I would fight over. That would be like.
There was a hand crocheted game piece for some game I'd never heard of. I mean, it was crocheted by a friend. That was one of the strangest things.
fought over
They
it?
fought over it. I mean, I
Okay.
had emails back and forth over it. Oh boy, let's see.
That's a pretty silly.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
I like
that.
that.
But
that's,
that obviously there was other things, I guess, tied to that, but that's really the driver. Oh man.
spite of it all.
Oh, there was a hot tub.
They fought over a hot
A
tub.
hot tub.
A hot tub.
Did
hot
one of
tub.
them keep the house?
Yes.
Oh, and the other one wanted to take the hot tub?
Yes. So things
Sentimental.
But the thing is, it's not just the hot tub, right?
Right.
There's something along or it's not just the poodle. It's something that is this means more to me, and this is what I'm willing to die on because, that brings her happiness.
Is
or
it
that
like a
brings
small
him
victory? Or is it more like,
Exactly.
let me stick it to you because you want it so bad, I'm going to want it more?
I bet that happens a lot.
That happens all the time. And
Right.
again, it's just...
Ew, I'd be like, take it all.
Well, the thing that really is frustrating is everyone thinks they need a pit bull. The first thing, and I'm sure you've seen it on the social media, it's, I need a pit bull attorney, or, I really need to go get somebody.
I swear to God, I see it at least twice a week
Absolutely.
on these pages, the mom pages. I'm on.
Every single one. My husband's got a really aggressive attorney. I need a pit bull. I need a pit bull. I need a pit bull. But then they realize that the pit bull is not actually solving their problem, and they're not actually addressing all of your needs, right? Litigation is only one facet of my job. And of cases in New Jersey, I think they say somewhere between 90 and 94% of cases settle in New Jersey. That means it doesn't go
Really?
to trial if you're doing a full divorce. Yes. I mean, look, there's going to be litigation in between with motions and other hearings, but that doesn't mean that you have to go this aggressive way 100% of the time.
Right.
And people just think that's the only way I can show force in my divorce and stand up for myself. And a lot of times people will say to me, you don't strike me as a pit bull. I'm like, good. I don't want to be. I can be aggressive and assertive, but I'm also, number one, aware of what your case needs. I'm aware of what you need as a person, because if I have somebody who is very aggressive, I'm not going to be as aggressive as they are as a client, because then your really unreasonable points are not just going to be, oh, he's upset. Right? That's an unreasonable position he's now taking and advancing it. And if I have to match that energy, a judge is going to say, I don't know how credible I find that. Right? So it's all
That's so
this
smart.
dance of trying to figure out all, like I said, I don't like to be listed as one title. You don't just need a pit bull. When you are in litigation, you need to be a zealous advocate as well as when you're not in litigation, but also you need to be cost conscious,
I
because
like zealous advocate.
because all of those moves are going to cost you a lot of money. And great, counsel fees are a thing, but also think about it on the back end, right? So no matter what you're getting now, that's draining for your counsel fees. So even if you get every single point that you were looking for, you get 100% victory, what did it cost for you to get there?
Right.
It's a business decision.
Yep.
You have to take the emotion out. That's why I say sit in it.
100%.
It's hard. But a lot of attorneys don't practice that way.
That's why my husband always says it's cheaper to keep her.
Yep. It's true. It's really true.
That's so sweet.
I know. I'm so lucky.
Oh, he should make you a Valentine's Day card that
I
says
think I
that.
probably
I
have.
think you should have a marriage counseling update too. I
Oh,
love
mine
it.
just says, I think he'd kill me before he divorced me. And I was like,
Good thing we recorded this.
wow.
I mean, that's great. That's
That's what
it's-
happens if anything
That's called
happens.
premeditation. And I
Right.
can tell you that's we're going to save this podcast even if it's not used.
I should edit that out, huh?
So you
Strike
have 2 kids.
I do have 2 kids.
Young.
And they're
Very
little.
young.
How do you do this? How do you balance? Because you don't have boundaries at work.
Here's the really interesting thing. It is a constant work in progress. But I can say I would be absolutely lost without my support system. I am fortunate enough. My parents live about 25 minutes away from me, and they are incredibly helpful to my husband and I. My husband's also, he works full time and he has a very demanding job too. He's not a lawyer. I'm not that crazy to be with another lawyer. Sorry for all those couples who are, but good God, no. We're awful to deal with sometimes. I couldn't imagine doing it full time, but it helps to have the conversation. What's really interesting is my husband is one of 3 and his mom stayed at home. Did not have a job for all 3 kids. I'm one of 2. My mom worked and my father worked, and my dad traveled a lot when I was a child. So I saw my mom firsthand do the job as a teacher, be the mom for my brother and I, be on the PTA, be my cheerleading coach, bring me to CCD. And one thing that no matter what, we had dinner together. If my dad was traveling, it was 7:30, it was after practice or whatever. That's what we did.
Yeah.
So I realize now just how much work that
It's
took.
a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
It really is.
But it modeled how I've now tried to approach. I do set a hard stop for myself now. I didn't in the beginning because I worked right up through the birth of both my children. They were less than 2 years apart, so it was very quick that I had to deal at home during COVID with a toddler and a newborn. But I realized that they're more important to me than my job in terms of me saying, I need to be with my child right now, right? If my kids need something, I got to do that. This morning, my child had kindergarten assessments. A client of mine really wanted to have a phone conference, and I explained very clearly, I don't have the time for you today, but I provided options. And it was not a problem.
Right.
And I realized it's taken me this long to say that to a client because I was too afraid to say that in the
Then you
past.
scare them away.
Right. And that's, it takes time getting there, but it's because of the confidence that I have now, because if I really need help, I can get the help I needed.
Right.
But at the end of the day, my job isn't 9 to
Not
5.
yeah.
Like I have clients who there's something happens on the weekends, I might need to answer. Holidays, there is no such thing as a vacation because things happen even if other people are covering it. I also have an incredible boss. She is a working mom herself, and she's been there, and she is very big on keeping those boundaries for us. So between the
That's a
support
big
system at home,
That
it's a
is.
huge game
Wow.
changer. And that's now we have such a great relationship, she and I, and the other woman in my department is in the same situation as well. And we pick up for each other when we have to.
I love that.
And it's such, it's so different,
Yeah.
especially in family law, right? It's a very hard area, and we all get it, and we're all there for each other. So there are days I feel like I'm failing at something. There are
Same.
days I feel like I'm failing at everything. But then I start the next day and I say, all right, well, how am I going to address this today? How can I triage it? And
Yeah.
it's that, I think we talked about it at the summit. I said, there are the glass balls and there are the plastic balls,
Yes.
which are the glass that, if dropped, are going to cause an irreplaceable issue, right? What's going to be able to be fixed is a plastic ball. Can I put that down and pick it up again later? And it'll be somewhat, maybe may not look the same as if I had addressed it right away, but it'll still be fixed.
It's gonna be fine.
Right. It's going to be fine. There is nothing so
Not that
dire,
deep, yeah.
absent, somebody being sick or being in the hospital or, God forbid, going to jail or running away or whatever. There's only few emergencies
Right.
that really need to be issued. So it's hard. I don't know if I'm doing it. I just think I'm looking at it every day to see how can I do it.
Do you feel like becoming a mom gave you new confidence once you got settled in?
I would not say new confidence.
I was going to say, wow,
Oh, God,
that's
no.
yeah.
I would say it's taken. Look, my kids are now out of diapers, right? They're sleeping through the night. They are able to be in ankle deep water without me being there to pick them up right away. That took a huge burden off my shoulders, right? They're able to be entertained. During COVID, I remember I'd be in a court hearing and I'd have to apologize because Bluey was on in the background, and I would, say I have to keep my microphone muted or else
Right.
the court reporter is going to pick it
Right.
up. So it's taken me 4 or 5 years to get to a place where I do feel confident, but it's been this ever evolving conversation.
Yeah.
And it also helps that it's now a conversation, right? When I was first pregnant, you didn't talk about it, right? There were the mom groups on Facebook that
Yep.
you kind of knew somebody, or you had to go to somebody to talk about how they approached their bosses to talk
Right.
about it, or how did you manage the expectations? It was like the word of mouth, but now there's actually a conversation about
Oh,
it,
yeah.
which is incredible. And I think that's also helped get me
I
a little
didn't
bit
tell
more
my boss
confident.
I was pregnant until I was showing, and that was at 7 months. Because
Really?
we were in a
Amazing
recession.
that you didn't show until 7 months.
Well,
Good for you.
I'm like, my God, I was
that was my
huge.
first one. That was my first
I
one.
was
my-
shown at
still.
14 weeks.
Oh, I was pissed because all I wanted to do was wear maternity clothes. So I would just wear bigger shirts.
right.
And but I was so afraid I was going to get laid off because we were in the recession.
Oh, God.
And they slowly were taking away things. It was all right, no more vacation
Yep.
time. All right, no new hires. Well, no new hires, but it started with we can't offer health insurance for new hires.
wow.
And this
Oh,
was
wow.
before Obamacare and all that.
Right.
So it was just one by one. And I'm like, I can't tell these people.
It's scary.
I'm going to get laid off, and they're gonna blame it on the recession,
Right.
God.
right? Because they can't say
Right,
I'm
they
laying
can't
you
say-
off.
right. And that's so with my second, I remember when I had my first, I found out I was pregnant right around his first birthday. I think somebody had made a comment at his birthday about when's the next one, and I laughed, and then I thought in my head and said, "Uh-oh." So I oops, and then I took a test, and it immediately became positive, and I found out I was very far along in the first trimester, but I didn't tell anybody because it had been right around that time when COVID was starting to be talked about, right? It was over in Italy. It hadn't come over yet. And a friend of mine reached out to me. She's also an attorney. And she had found out she was pregnant. And she didn't know how to tell her boss. And she asked me, to talk to her, what did you do? And I talked to her and realized I was boosting myself up because I was telling her,
pep talking
right?
yourself.
Right. I was
like you need to go right in there and
stand up for herself at the same time as me being. And look, my boss
I hate
at the
those
time,
conversations.
And my boss at the time was a female, and she was excellent. And her daughter, what made it even better was after I told her daughter told her that she was also pregnant with her second. So it was this great. I was around her, and she was able to be around me as if she was around her daughter. So I was really helpful. But
that's nice.
It took me talking to somebody about how to do it to really get me ready to do it again.
Yeah,
so
I made
don't
that
say
pep
the
talk.
confidence, but you need the pep talk a lot.
Yeah,
I needed one this morning. I texted somebody I'm not pregnant. Biologically impossible. But yeah, I was like, I knew what I wanted, and she knew what I wanted to hear. I was like, yeah, I got this. Yeah. Do I? Yeah. But sometimes you need someone else to say it.
And also the fact that you are not second guessing yourself, you're allowed to doubt yourself.
Right.
Because if you weren't, you're going to be disillusioned into the fact
then
that
you're not trying anything.
Right. Not only trying anything.
Yeah.
Talk about imposter syndrome, right?
Yeah. Right.
Like I'm the best at everything. No, you are absolutely not. Right. Everyone's
or
got
that
flaws.
everything is like so happy and
God,
perfect,
nothing
and
is.
you should
And
stay
easy.
because it's yay, and it's like sometimes you just know it's just not the right
Yeah.
You just gotta go.
thing.
Yeah. And it's that.
Why did I
whole
stop myself from
questioning.
saying the F word in front of you? Like I was going to go to
Stacey knows I'm a big fan of the F word. I'm just trying
good.
to be my lawyer professional.
same, and I was like, this is all very divorce, and I don't want to be like because I usually drop it by at least at this mark many times.
Yeah, it's again, the nice thing is about my job is I put my attorney hat. My husband will say, we've driven down to South Carolina a lot, and I'll be on the call with a client or an adversary. He's like, oh, your attorney voice was on for a little bit, but as soon as you get off, there's Amanda.
She's back.
Yep.
We all have that. My
Yes.
husband makes fun of me all the time.
Your customer service.
Yes.
Like, hi.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
How
I was,
are you?
I was on the
Exactly.
phone with her talking about how when I was dealing with a guy in business, all of a sudden I was like, hello. And I was and my husband goes, why can't you be that way with me? And I'm like, go fuck yourself. Like no one's talking to you. I was talking to Stacy. Thank you.
Yep.
And he's like, there she is.
Are you making any money, Greg?
Right. Yeah.
Bye. Mwah.
Exactly.
Love you, bye.
Right.
It's that nice little, but again, you can be gritting your teeth,
Yeah.
but I've had to deal with the situation where I'm in court and someone is, and I've been accused right as a brand new lawyer, I've had very disgruntled wives. And I think you asked me this initially, and I don't think I ever answered it, actually. I at that point was representing a lot more men. My firm, I told you, the first firm I ever worked at did not have a website, despite the fact that we were in the 2000s, which was kind
So
of
bizarre.
terrifying. But a lot of it was word of mouth and reputation. So we just had a lot of men that we represented, and a lot of females took issue with me.
I was
going
going to say, did they look at you like traitor?
Not only traitor, I've had comments said to me in the halls of a courtroom oh boy, from the wife, for just refusing to shake my hand, and just like, again, it's a job for me. It's don't take it personally. I don't look at you.
They hired you. There's money being exchanged for services,
Also,
not those kinds, like regular.
But you're doing it in a smart
Right.
and educated way. You're
Totally.
both of you are protecting yourself. So I've had this, oh boy, these terrible, terrible comments said to me directly or about me, and you have to be professional.
Yeah.
right? As a lawyer, I have to be professional because that is part of my job. I went to law school. I passed the bar. I stood before the judge I clerked for,
But
and I
say
swore
shit
an
like
oath.
that to me at a soccer game.
Right? That's where, listen, I am still from New Jersey, and I said I love the F word. That will come out, but I have to be that
Not there.
composed.
There's a time and a place for
Right.
everything.
Yes.
I deal with people who are unhappy with me at all times. My clients are going to be unhappy. My adversaries are going to be unhappy. The court's going to be unhappy with me. If I gave into that, I would be miserable.
Totally. So how
you
do
can,
you take care of
can
yourself?
What do we call it? Decompartmentalize? My brain is broken. Do we do that?
Compartmentalize,
Compartmentalize. You put it
Yes.
in, you put
There's
in a
no
lot of
D,
boxes.
yeah.
A lot of
lot of
Yeah,
boxes.
you have
but
to, right?
also, again,
It's like
why-
crime scene investigation.
but also, why is this person really mad at me? Why are they
Right.
really upset about today? Is it the fact that, you know,
That's such a
there was
strange
comment?
reaction.
Oh God,
It's
everyone's
so
angry.
weird. It's just
Everyone's
weird to see someone you don't know and be like, "You're me." It's like, what?
Oh yeah. Or I bet you're sleeping with him. Or is he? Oh, you must know them. You must be one of the girls, huh? Like all those side little snippy comments. I mean, people. Another judge made, and I only know all these comments from judges because I was fortunate when I interned at the courthouse before I was a clerk. I got to interact with a lot of the judges who are. Most of them are actually not even on the family law bench anymore, which is also scary. But a lot of them would say things such as, you know, in criminal law, you were dealing with probably really bad people who were on their best behavior. In family law, you were dealing with a lot of really good people at their absolute worst time, and
How
they're on
funny is
their
that?
worst behavior. So to deal with that day in and day out, you do have to remove it. And
Yeah.
it's not, again, this comes with the years of practice and also talking about it with other lawyers. You're not their punching bags
Right.
as a adversary, but also you can't just steamroll people because
Right.
it's not going to benefit your case. So a lot of it is just taking a step back, sitting in it like we talked about, determining what's really at issue here, what's really the problem, and is there a way around it, or do we have to take a different alternative route and talking it out?
Yeah.
It's
A
hard.
lot of talking, I bet.
So much talking. I'm an introvert who has to be an extrovert.
Yeah.
So I have to like just put my phone away for
Yeah.
a little bit after a
You
time.
must be exhausted sometimes.
It's a lot. you know.
Emotionally, like drained, exhausted.
Yes,
Yeah, right?
it is.
Like
And
you're
it's
just
also-
like, turn it off.
But also think about it. At the same time, you know, I'm getting an update from my kids at school and I'm
Right.
seeing a really great picture of them
Right.
while also dealing with somebody who, you know, their
Cares
child
about a
came
hand
home,
crocheted
hand crocheted game things,
game
right?
thing. Yeah.
Or I have to write a really strong worded letter about something I really don't believe in. And that's where I have to give a call to the adversary and say, look, you're going to get this letter. I'm so sorry. But just know I have to do what I got to do, right? Because, again, I have to balance this
Sounds like you're in a duel. The adversary.
with everybody. I'm in a duel with everybody.
I like
Because you
that.
try to maintain all your professional relationships.
It is.
Yeah.
It's hard, right? Think about how many ways you network, right?
Right.
You, especially the three of our businesses,
Yes.
anybody you meet could be
Everybody.
a client
yeah.
or a potential business
Totally.
connection.
Right.
And it's
And know somebody who knows somebody.
Exactly.
And what are you putting out there?
exactly. And if you are going through a really difficult time, you want to deal with somebody who you're comfortable in talking
Yeah.
with. And I will tell a lot of my clients, actually all of my clients or potential clients, talk to other lawyers before you decide to go with me.
Yeah, it's like a
Talk
match.
to them.
See who you
Yeah.
work with.
Right.
Right.
See who you, not only that, but if I'm not going to make you happy, then no matter the outcome, you're going to be unhappy.
Right.
So-
Don't start. Yeah. Go where you will be happy.
Just
and-
because your
Right.
best friend told you you'd like me doesn't mean you like me.
Exactly. And everyone
Yeah.
is going to be going through it differently. Like we call it co-counsel, that if you are going through a divorce and you're speaking with your attorney, but then you go home or you get your nails done and the girls at the salon are talking,
Yes.
they're talking about what happened to their girlfriend who went through a divorce, or when my brother got a divorce and blah, 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 blah. And next thing you know, you're second guessing your attorney based upon people
Right.
who are in completely different
Right.
situations.
Right.
So if you are not comfortable listening to somebody and going with their guidance, you're not making a decision for your life. And somebody else, realistically, you just want to point the finger at somebody.
Yes.
No, thank you.
No.
No, that's, again, a terrible relationship to be in as an attorney-client, and it's a terrible
Yeah.
relationship for you to be as a husband and wife, or
It's setting up for failure.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be inevitable.
There's no accountability.
No.
It's hard. So yeah, the job is really fun. really
Sign
You
positive.
me up.
tell me to tell my Liam to not become an attorney.
I did, and I tell my children that
Yes.
all the time.
I
Mostly
told
because of
Liam,
student
he
loans.
goes, why?
Yeah,
And I
that's a
said, I
lot.
don't know. I'm like, I think you should talk to her. He goes, I'm not talking to your friends. That's weird.
Okay, I think Liam and I would get along very
And
well.
that's what I
I'm
said. I
pretty
go,
cool.
I only hang out with cool people.
But it's true. It's a lot. I've known, because like I said, I am so annoyingly fixated on things. I've wanted to be a lawyer for as long as I can remember. I mean, since I was in elementary school. And probably because I just like to talk a lot and argue.
That would be Liam.
Yeah, but it
Perfect
was
for him.
realizing as you go to law school, they don't teach you how to be a lawyer. They teach you the law.
Right.
Right.
And then you have your own style.
Right. And then but also, I went to law school in Pennsylvania. I'm not barred in Pennsylvania, but I didn't learn any New Jersey law when I was in Pennsylvania. And
Oh,
also,
wow.
I didn't learn how to be a lawyer, right? You have family law, but you don't learn how to advocate on behalf of a client. You just learn what the case law is or what the statutes are. You learn how to read it. You learn how to structure an argument. Being actually in practice, as you go into that first year as an associate, you sit down and you're like, okay, great, what do I do?
Now what?
What do I do? I just spent all this money and I have no idea what I'm doing, right? And it's going to be student loans forever. And it's a very scary concept. There's a big turnover. Right now, I'd say I am out 11 years practicing. I graduated from law school 12 years ago. There are brand new lawyers coming in, and there are lawyers who are in their 40s and 50s and 60s who are still practicing. And the people that I know, not all of them are still lawyers. A lot of people have left being a lawyer, or if they were a lawyer, they've gone either in-house or they've switched out of family law. They can't do it anymore. They have a cooking blog, like you said, right? They look for other ways to go, I don't have to be this miserable, and they leave. And it's hard. There's a big turnover, but I think that the more people are having this conversation about, you're not an enemy with everybody if they're at a different position than you.
Yeah.
Right? Your soon-to-be ex-spouse, they're not agreeing with you, but guess what? That's why you're getting a divorce.
Right.
Right?
So you haven't been in agreement for a long time.
Do you think that you're going to agree now going through a divorce?
Right.
Probably not.
Right. Leave it to the
Right.
attorneys.
So just figure it out and be reasonable. You're allowed to have that window of, if that's your mountain that you want to die on and that's where you're willing to go,
Go for it.
I will fight for that hand crocheted tea kettle or whatever you want. Oh, there was a tea kettle collection. That was my other one. I've had to value a tea kettle collection. That was interesting. Yeah.
That is interesting.
Yeah. I didn't know people collected tea
My
kettles.
grandmother-in-law does. I get her one every year for Christmas.
But she's like
blue and white.
100.
Don't say that. She's not 100.
I did not know people
I
did that.
just instantly assume every grandma's 100 because mine are all dead.
Yeah.
It's my husband's grandmother, and I get her a blue and white. Anyway, I digress. That's
But
not
that
what
was
we're here
another-
for.
but
But yes, that's crazy to me.
It's just, to me, you're not going to agree on anything. You're not going to convince them otherwise. So how can you resolve this problem?
Yeah.
It's just figuring out a puzzle. That's why I love it.
Not everybody wants resolution, though.
No, but you have to.
Yeah.
Revenge.
There is a
I want
resolution.
revenge. Just kidding.
I do love that also. I love that also. And actually, one of my favorite movies growing up, and I should have known I was going to be a divorce attorney, even though I said I did not want to be, was I loved The First Wives Club.
Oh, I love that movie.
It's still one of my favorite
Same.
movies. And it's one of those
Yeah.
educational to me. And my poor students, if you've had me at Brookdale, I'm so sorry. One of their extra credit assignments is to watch it because it takes out the revenge, but you're doing revenge in a way that is benefiting you while fixing your problem without looking like the money grubber, quote unquote,
psychopath.
or the crazy one. You're doing it in an educated way. You're setting yourself up for your future and your next steps. Everyone's entitled to be happy. Get out of it, move forward, but do it and know what you're doing.
Get drunk with your friends and dance.
Exactly. Sing some Leslie
love
Gore
that.
and you're good.
Perfect. This is the perfect way to end this podcast.
That you could not have summed it up any better. We're gonna go drink now. No,
I love that.
Now I know what the song is going to be in the background.
Oh God, you don't own me all over the place.
Yep,
I love it.
100%.
I can just see them like
We are all
walking down the
three
hall
blondes,
like
too. It
this.
does work.
It's perfect.
We're all goldies.
It's
right?
happening. We're all golden.
We're all goldies.
Who does the finger in the air? Do they all?
They all do.
They all do.
They all do. Do we have to teach you the moves? I can teach you the moves.
I'd have to. I mean, I remember. No, I need the mood.
Oh, we'll teach you.
I'll pick it up fast though.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah.
I was I don't know if you can tell, I was cheerleader for very many years in my life.
I was captain in
know
8th
that.
grade.
Were you?
I was. There
I
were
didn't
not
make
many
the
girls
team.
in Monmouth Beach, so we got to play both basketball and cheerlead.
I didn't
Oh.
make it.
Yeah.
They cut me. I couldn't do the reindeer kick thing.
I think it was because I was
Is that what
solid
it
and
was
I
called,
could
the
catch.
reindeer kick?
No.
I don't-
I am so
What was the kick?
Oh,
You
like
mean
a
this
herky?
thing?
Show us,
No,
Stacey.
I can't.
Stacey, come on, you
You
can
bend
do
your
it.
leg and the other one goes behind you. I couldn't do
Yeah.
that.
So one
it's
is
not called a
straight and
reindeer?
one's out back.
Yeah.
It's called a herky.
Okay, I couldn't do that.
Yeah. So I was the like I said, I don't ever want to be boxed in. I played lacrosse and I was a cheerleader.
Perfect.
So dual threat in different ways.
I love it.
I would show up in high school. It was great. I would show up to cheerleading tryouts. You remember high school? Girls they're doing their makeup and they're all ready to be a cheerleader. And there I was coming fresh off lacrosse practice, is going into my varsity year as a senior, and I'm covered in mud and I'm all wrapped up from lacrosse practice. I'm like, all right, let's go.
Let's do this.
Let's do this.
Let's cheer. Let's cheer those
We're into
football
this.
players on. Let's go. Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank you guys so much for having
That
me.
was
fun.
This was lovely. It was great.
A little chat.
Bestie.
little chat.
Chat with your bestie.
Yes,
Tell us where everybody can find any more information if they
absolutely.
do or don't want to get in contact or need some
So
help.
if anybody does need to talk about any family law issues, whether we're talking about custody, modifications if you're already divorced, or if you're thinking about divorce, or if you're thinking about getting married to it, I didn't talk about that either. I do prenuptial
Oh,
agreements. We also do something called antenuptial agreements, which are after you're married, you can still enter into some sort of agreement. Adoptions, anything related to a family, you can reach out to me, Amanda Massey. I am at Pashmanstein Walter Hayden. We have an office in Bellworks, which is great. That's
Great
our Monmouth
spot.
County office, and our other office, or one of our other offices, is up in Bergen County in Hackensack. But you can find me on the website, or I'm sure on Instagram. This will be posted up.
Yeah, we're gonna put your handle under it. So
Perfect.
yeah, we'll
so
tag
reach out to
everybody
me. Yeah,
and
slide into my DMs, like Stacey.
it happens at some point or another with
I've
this.
actually gotten a lot of
bet.
former friends. Well,
Same.
right?
We
or
have gotten
connections.
most of
Perfect.
our turnkey women
Yeah,
from that.
making
Yeah.
connections that way.
It's the world.
It benefits everybody. You kind of
Totally.
know somebody without really knowing them.
Yeah, it's an easy intro.
But this was great. Thank you.
Well,
both
thank
so
you for
much.
coming.
Having
Of
us.
course,
I mean,
thank
having
you.
us. Thank you for joining us. I've had a long day, kids. Very long day. All right, let's go get a drink.